couple of years ago, we exposed the wicked head rabbi of England, named Ephraim Mervis, Shem Reshaim Yirkav. This guy pretended to be a Jewish religious leader, continues to pretend he's a Jewish religious leader, trying to create unity among the Jewish people by doing something that no other rabbi in the history of Judaism has ever done, at least not Orthodox Judaism. Uniting the Jewish people with the Muslims, with the Christians, visiting the Pope, complimenting the Pope. You're never going to see him complimenting the greatest sages of the previous generation, but you do see him headlines in multiple newspapers being quoted as complimenting the Pope, the chief idol worshiper of the world. He compliments him. He mocks our sages. He mocks our forefathers, saying that King David, Yaakov, and many of the other forefathers we have had mental illnesses. But yet he compliments the chief idol worshiper, the Pope, by saying, oh, he admires him. If that wasn't enough, he also did something that no other rabbi in Orthodox Jewry, I say, real rabbi, has ever done. He decides to write a book about how LGBTQ is perfectly fine, perfectly acceptable. Now again, what people do in the privacy of their home, it's their business. But to go and change the laws of Judaism, change the laws of the Torah, and publicize it as if this is a new version of the Torah that apparently he's the only one that's aware of, obviously was problematic then, needless to say, is problematic now, as you see how things have transpired. He protects the enemies of Judaism, such as people like Dweck, that literally distorted the Torah in public in the most obnoxious, disgusting, mocking way by calling the love between King David and Yonatan a love that is forbidden, according to the Torah, saying that this is the greatest thing that happened to society is this LGBTQ stuff. This is obviously something that's clearly mocking the Torah and its creator. Needless to say, the behavior that he had when he told the Jewish people of his community that they need to have a special prayer on Shabbat rooting for the local soccer team, or they call it football in the UK, so they can win. Now, if these things weren't bad enough to throw him out, not only out of his office, but out of Jewry altogether, because unfortunately they weren't, because the public kept him in his position, perhaps the community would wake up now, because the arrogance has gotten to such a point that now violating the Torah in open daylight is no longer a problem for this clown. In fact, he is actually letting the people know that they should celebrate with him as he mocks the Torah, as he violates the Torah, by making a short video last week that he plans on being in church on Shabbat to celebrate the new King of England. Now, if the inauguration of the new king was done in the king's palace, in some auditorium, some event, some hall, you and I can go too. But the moment that it's done in a church, according to all opinions, whether you look at the opinions of the Gemara, the Zohar, the Halacha of the Rambam, Shulchan Aruch, it doesn't matter where you go. No Jew is ever allowed to step into a church. And instead of running away or rejecting this invitation by simply saying, I'm sorry, as the king is aware of the Jewish religion, because the actual royalty of England is very well aware of Judaism, as they for generations have been circumcising their children, as they for generations have been aware of the Sabbath laws, Shabbat. In fact, the King of England told this Mervis clown that he shouldn't attend because it's Shabbat. And instead of saying, you know what, Your Highness, you're right, instead of using that as an excuse, as you're right, I can't go, it's Shabbat. Shabbat is for my people, Shabbat is for my God. He double downs on his evil and says, think this, a Orthodox rabbi going to a church on Shabbat, and he's celebrating it, and he's publicizing it. The level of arrogance of this Chilul Hashem is not only something that is hurting him and going to give him an eternal damnation, eternal Gehenum, but I can assure you, it is damaging every single one of us Jews around the world. Because the moment that we sit there silently and do nothing, as someone with a position of power like he does, desecrates the name of God in such capacity and turns the truth into a lie and the lie into a truth, we're all in jeopardy.